And you need
Stan,
Roxanne.
and Roger, stand, please.
You guys might as well go around in front. You're gonna need to take a picture. I suppose.
Eric? Eric?
Could I take pictures?
That's what he's saying. All right, if I can have you raise your right hands. Do you solemnly swear and you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state, and that you will faithfully perform the duties of the office of City Commissioner in and for the City of Alma, County of Gratiot, and State of Michigan, according to the best of your ability, so help you God?
I will. Maybe look this way.
Their hands up. Throw me your calendar.
All of you who came for this are free to stay for the rest of the meeting.
Oh, boy.
We learned everything already.
If it'll help, we'll talk about an income tax. That's the only reason.
Hey, good, how you doing?
See ya.
You should have waited.
All running out at you, Michelle.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Hey, see you, take care.
I had no idea this was going on.
There it is. I'm looking for the.
Just
this
don't,
one right here.
it's running, right?
Gotcha. Oh, okay.
Isn't it running?
It's recording, yep. It's recording.
Because of-
As you should.
Yeah, that's right.
Will do.
Well, I guess that means I can leave now.
Yeah, no doubt.
They've got all my.
These are two new commissioners.
They're looking at the watches though. Yeah. Step it up a little, right?
It gets better as you go too. Oh, yeah. Okay, are we ready to go? Lynn? No.
We didn't have to run.
We're all set.
She left too.
She had to move her car.
Oh, okay. But you're ready then, Eric?
Yeah, we're ready. Yep.
Okay, so it's after 6, we'll call it to order. Start with the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you for that. All right, does anyone have any additions or deletions to the agenda? If not, we'll move on. Entertain a motion. So moved.
Support.
Motion support. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The agenda is adopted. Then the roll call. Then the pledge. Approval of minutes of November 13th, 2018 meeting. Approval. Support. Any comments or questions? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Moving down to the consent agenda. Commissioners may approve the following items by one resolution, or a commissioner may remove any item within the section for individual discussion and vote. We have 3 items with us tonight. The first one is to ratify payment in the amount of $3,177.84 to the state of Michigan for our annual community public water supply fee. Second item is request for payment in the amount of $2,300 to Gongwar for the news report service for the year of 2019. And the third and final item is request for payment in the amount of $2,117.44 to 21st Century Media of Michigan for the October publications. I presume that's the library? Oh, that's our, okay, that's our publishing, yes. Sorry, I noticed this, yes.
That's all of them.
Okay, what is your pleasure? You have a motion? For all of them, I assume?
Yep.
Any comments or questions? Anybody care to remove anything? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Request for purchase, we have one, request for purchase amount of $2,264 to A1 Truck Parts for bearings with blocks for the city leafer truck.
Support.
Motion support, any comments or questions? I've got one, Alan.
Sure.
We had a quote for bearings with blocks. Bearings, what's the block? I know what a bearing is.
Block the whole bearing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's what it
Those
goes
are just
into.
getting little round things to say.
Roll all over the table.
All right,
Well, that's actually the whole raceway.
okay. Just was in my mind. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Resolutions. Consideration of a resolution to adopt the local agency pavement warranty program consisting of special provisions, which are boilerplate concrete, HMA location, pass-through warranty bond, a warranty bond form and contract form, and guidelines for local agency pavement warranty programs. So we have a motion,
So moved.
support? Do we have an explanation? I assume this is a state mandated as.
It is indeed, because the County Road Association and the ML got together and said that they would like to do this, that we do have failing roads and stuff. They said, well, once you get a road that's gonna be put in, can we get a warranty for the road? And so these two organizations worked with a bunch of contractors, and they got back to an agreeable proposition. It's if you do have a major reconstruction, that they will warrant the road for 5 years for materials and workmanship. And then if you're doing, that's for full reconstruction. And if there is just resurfacing, there's a 2-year or 1 program for those two. And so it's all standardized now for everybody. And MDOT has approved it, which is required of transportation. And so now we're mandated that we have to approve it at the local level. And there's 2 resolutions. One says we'll adopt it, and then we'll implement it. It's the second resolution. And so it is only mandated for anything over $2 million in street only. We won't ever get to that. Like if we look at Pine Avenue from Washington to Warwick, that's a $1 million job. So it would have to be a very major project. Other municipalities would be getting into this, but for us, since we're not in that, we can opt into it. It will cost something because you actually have to get a warranty bond, and someone will come back and say, yes, we will repair your street, but still it will cost you to do that. And so it's not free. There's a cost to that.
I've read all the details. Is this indexed for inflation then? So we will never get to
They'll
it?
require that warranty bond. And so that warranty bond will be a,
But if the amount isn't indexed for inflation, if that $2 million isn't indexed, then we,
And we could get into it like on the Gowa project, where we did a considerable amount of asphalt for lineal footages of it. You could get to that potential barrier for it too. But like you mentioned there, with the inflation, I'm gonna foresee probably within 10 years we'd see it on local streets, if it doesn't allow for it.
we haven't experienced problems with workmanship or materials in any of our construction projects, have we? I mean, not that I'm
Not
aware
that
of.
I've seen, material workmanship I would worry about would be like if you had, the surface would come apart, raveling, anything like that. If you see cracks, that's not really workmanship, that might be a road base issue, things like that. Not in the time I've been here for workmanship issues.
And road base isn't gonna be covered by this either, right?
No, I haven't read
If the
through
base is
all of it, but
improper.
I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of exclusions like a car insurance policy.
especially because there's someone else, that the construction company does not do the design of the road base, and so they're exempted because they didn't have any say in what happens. And so they put it back in okay, but if they didn't design it, then they're not liable for the road base.
'Cause from what I've read, this comes from the fact that the state has, I guess, had this for some time, but they haven't enforced the warranties. And they've had a lot of bad workmanship. They had some issues with roads, and I guess I can't say it's bad workmanship necessarily.
M6, pusher and a lot of people taking this out.
Okay.
That's 3 years.
Do we have an idea of the cost of the bond?
In the work is so that you will have a 5% of the total job, the warranty bond that's put into place.
So it wouldn't cost us anything till we get to the $2 million?
No, it costs you to have the contractor buy the bond, and then you include that in his price.
But in most of our projects, this won't come into play at all, so it
Correct.
shouldn't.
It was just a
Other than
matter
the
of
fact that
having
it's
it
gonna drive
because
up
they
prices
say we
of
have to
road work
basically.
overall.
If it gets into that, we'd put that in more contract language for our specs, we'd put it out for bid, and that would be line items that have to account for, and that's part of the bonding process, they'd see it in the specs if it was required. Changes in the cost would go up accordingly.
Okay. Any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, I believe we have a motion and support, is that correct? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That is passed. Item 2 is consideration of a resolution to adopt the implementation of a local pavement warranty program.
So moved.
The simple support. Motion support, any additional questions again? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That is carried. Moving to reports, we have 2. The first one is the Elmo Police Department report for October of 2018, and the Medical Marijuana Facilities Task Force meeting notes, which indicates here that will be presented by Commissioner Piccolo at the meeting. So, we have a motion to accept the reports? We have a motion, do we have support?
Support.
Mr. Piccolo, would you like to present your report?
Sure, we met last Tuesday, and just to back up a little bit, the commission passed the ordinances regarding medical marijuana, which is in fact a policy decision, goes through hearings, research, discussion, and then is passed and has a set of a policy. What was then charged was a task force to come up with a procedure. How will we, now that we have defined under what circumstances we will allow medical marijuana operations of different types in the city limits, what process does someone have to go through to get those licenses? And that's what this group did. Processes really was mostly, there was a number of things we did. One is we looked at a number of processes that other cities had. We spent an awful lot of time with each department head who was affected by this. What do they have to go through? We were also informed by whatever is existing. For example, we start talking about what types of water processes do you have to use. Well, our ordinances are pretty clear on that. The state laws are pretty clear on that. So we thought it was actually more reasonable and defensible to say, look, we're going to follow where it's appropriate, follow our own processes. Where we had to come up with different things, there's probably not a safety process, for example, building a bank. There's industry standards, there's federal rules. We don't have those in this kind of industry. It's new. We asked brain freeze. We asked, old day, always die hard. But we asked Mark to come up with what do we need from the safety standpoint. So we followed our existing ordinances. We put a procedure together which we think is rigorous, but fair. This isn't an easy thing that someone's going to have to go through. There's a couple of pieces in it which we thought were critical. One was that anybody getting this should attend some kind of meeting to know what they're getting into, so they can opt out if that's going to be too much, or they understand before they start. So there were a couple of things we put in place. Where we are now is we have gone through, those processes are put together. We've also created the documents that people have to fill out. Those are ready. They've been vetted to the attorney. Tony may want to make some comments as well. Once we do that, what we'll do is we'll vet them to the commission to take a look at. I don't know what kind of official or unofficial blessing is required from the commission, since it's not an ordinance and it's procedural. Tony can maybe give us some advice.
Yeah, we'll put that, I'll look into that too, and we'll talk about that, maybe put it as an agenda item if commission approval is required in the next meeting. But I did look this over, and I think you folks did a remarkable job. It is fair, it is rigorous, that's what it was set up to be. This was legislation to finally regulate medical marijuana facilities, because they weren't regulated before. And anyone that goes through this process better be ready, because they're going to be put through a gauntlet, I would say, not only with the state, but with the city of Elma too. And I thought that some of the things that you inserted in here with respect to the meeting first, I think that's important to let these folks understand what's gonna be required so they can decide initially, hey, it might be too much for us. The way that you have the fees set up, where they pay $1,000 up front, the remaining $4,000 comes later, I think that's eminently fair as well. The first $1,000 not being refundable because it's gonna cost the city a lot of money to undertake this, but on the other hand, these individuals who don't make it through the process aren't gonna be out the $5,000. Yeah, I thought it was very well.
So what we'll do is, I guess, you get that out to
Yeah,
us.
we'll have that out to everybody.
And then if there's comments, you get them to Matt.
Well, we typically don't bring processes like this to the
The
commission.
only thing I wanna look at,
Other than-
and I haven't thought about this before, Mr. Piccolo brought it to my attention just today, or tonight, but, you know, this was a committee that was in part made up of commission members, and that's the only reason I would like to just take a look and see if, you know, I mean, if the commission ought to pass on it. I'll take a look at it, and we'll either bring it up as an agenda item, or I'll report back at the next meeting.
And the reason for commissioners getting this is the final say-so on whether or not a license is approved comes through the commissioners.
Right.
So, but once you know, you're looking at what,
Right.
what those folks go through.
Yeah, I'm just talking about initially whether the commission needs to approve
Sure.
the
The
policy
process.
and the applications that you folks,
So they have to give an official
Created.
blessing.
Yeah.
and
We're looking for some input as well.
Yeah, I mean,
There certainly is.
Either way, I
something
think
we
we're
may have
looking to
missed.
show you this is it.
Yeah.
And you have an input on it too, but I think
Right.
we've vetted it pretty good.
I think for the most part, we got it covered pretty good, because there were things that were added and some things taken out and moved around, and it wasn't easy to do, but Aaron was a real big help
Yeah.
with it, so.
It's been an interesting process to be part of, and kind of see all the parts come together. It's-
Appreciate the work.
Yeah, our thanks go out to those of you that served on the committee. That was, sure we put in extra time, and we appreciate it. Okay. Are there any questions, additional questions or comments for Mr. Piccolo or his committee? Hearing none, we have a motion and support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Reports are received. Thank you very much. Okay, moving down to appropriations. Ratify the payments of November 14th and approve the invoice payments of November 27th. Your pleasure.
Oh, let's pay for this.
Do we have a choice?
Okay, I heard a motion. Do you support?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Comments or questions on the payments? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, commissioner comments. Roxanne?
Congratulations to our new members, and sorry for being late.
You were not late. You were very much on time to this meeting.
And thanks to all that who work on the marijuana group. I mean, that is a lot, and it's tedious, and I appreciate you guys doing the heavy lifting, and thank you. And again, Eric, thank you for everything you do for the city of Belleville. Your work is appreciated.
Just want to thank Eric. It's been a lot of work for a lot of years, and it is appreciated.
Reiterate that, thank you, Eric, and again, thank you to Aaron for a lot of work. When we say these things are ready, I mean, that's what it looks like. It says, you know, City of Alma, and it's online and gonna be, and he did all of the grunt work on that and getting that ready. It was an eye-opening experience being on that, and I think we pretty well have it covered. I'm very pleased with it, so.
Good. Done.
Well, I congratulated Michelle before, but I haven't seen Audrey to congratulate you on your election. Welcome. I think you'll find it an interesting experience. Other than that, thanks.
I'm good.
Nick, just welcome to the new commissioners, congratulations. And Aaron, thank you. And the department heads board here. Well, tedious is my middle name.
I knew that was your
And
strong
you knew,
point.
as you know,
I know.
Roxanne, but it was really a good experience.
just, same thing. Congratulations to the new commission members. I think it's great. And I really, the work that was done on that medical marijuana policy was exceptional, I think, and thanks to everybody that was involved in that. And Eric, man, I'll tell you what, that little trinket you just got there, that was thanks for everything.
Obviously, welcome to you guys. It'll be enjoyable to work with you. The last couple of days have been, really yesterday, very interesting, and then into today. Meeting with those guys this morning kind of lit a fire, I think, that really gave me a good idea of we're on the right track. We have some really good things that have been put in place over the years that I know people are impatient to see them start to come to fruition. And there's a lot of work to be done, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of work to be done. But I think it's nice to hear some confirmation from some outside sources. Again, as I say, you get tied up in the day-to-day. Ellen and I have this conversation all the time. If the day-to-day stuff didn't come up day-to-day, we could do so much more. But it happens every day. But it's nice to get some positive confirmation from outsiders who see the changes and see the things we've been trying to do here in the community. And I can't be happier over the last month with what the staff has been going through here on a daily basis with all of the change and all of the things that Cynthia's gone through on a day-to-day basis of going through an audit, switching all of our software systems during the same time, restructuring a department. I'm going through all of that all at once. And yet, we still keep coming back to work every day. And we still keep pushing forward. So, again, thank you to everybody, and let's just keep moving.
Very good. I would echo that, congratulations to Audra and Michelle on the new appointments. You guys had one, and Don, we're certainly going to miss you. Although
Hey, we got 2 more meetings.
you're not out completely. There's potential for you to stick around in some other capacities to keep your knowledge, on the board here, and we'll count on you to keep working for the city. So, and my thanks to Eric. You've done a lot of good there, and we really appreciate the downtown. Just been, we've got a really good foundation now, and like Matt said, the work isn't done. We still have high expectations for the future to come. So, and I'm sure you can achieve it and make it happen. So, looking forward to seeing all that and watching it go forward. Also, as far as the election is concerned, I want to thank everybody that ran. Whether you won or not, it takes a lot of guts to put your name out there. Certainly congratulations to everybody that won, but congratulations to everybody that didn't win too. I mean, to go for it and put your name out there and do the campaign is something, they deserve a lot of credit for doing that. It's not a fun and easy thing to do always. Our appreciation to them as well. So with that, we'll open it up to the public. If you'd like to address the commission, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and share your thoughts. Who would like to be first? We have the first one. All right, Lori.
My name is Lori. I live at 517 Michigan Avenue, St. Louis. With all the hard issues I've been through since May, I said with all the support and all the prayers I've had through all my cancer and radiation, I've been doing really good, great, no serious complications at all. Everyone from the meeting here I've come to, you all have been wonderful, supportive, and helpful. Thank you. The Alma Police Department has been helpful and supportive. Thank you from all of them. I've been doing really great. I might have a few more weeks to go on my radiation. The doctor is saying that I don't have any more cancer in my system. That's why I have to do radiation to be safe. It's been a tough road for me since May or June of this year. I'm tough, I'm strong, and I'm a survivor. Through all the way, through all this, it's been rough at times, but I have made it, and I'm here. If I didn't have everyone on my side, I don't think I would everyone's help and support. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, loving, caring heart. I have a support from my caseworkers. They have been wonderful, and they've been there for me. I am tough, and I'm a survivor, and I'm very true. I'm tough, and I'm here. I'm surviving. Now I need support in my right shoulder because I might have some serious problems with that. Thank you.
Continued success. Good luck. Who would like to be next to address the commission?
Is my turn?
Oh, it's your turn, Les. We have a slot open for you.
Only got a couple more weeks.
I know, this is it?
This is
This is
it.
it?
This is your farewell tour. Yes, it's a farewell.
That case, that move we adjourned.
Let's go to Anthony, 89 Mill Street here at Noma. As you're all well aware, I began a project of my own doing in April this year. It's pretty well documented through something like 2,300 pictures and videos and drone shots and everything else, the ongoing changes of the river. And what I learned over the course of the summer is, because I did some background information, this river out here has always been a focal point for Parks and Recreation. It's always mentioned in Parks and Recreation master plans. I mean, historically, go out here in the pictures on the wall, you see how important that river is. What I learned in speaking with people that have lived on the river for a number of years is how much it's changed. And I saw that over the course of, it began on April 22nd and finished this last week. How important it is, and that asset is dying. There's no other way to describe it. It is dying through a lot of circumstances that are beyond the control of the city commission. But I have sat and I've lived in Alma now for almost 30 years. I used to drive past the abandoned railroad tracks on Loose Road when they were talking about putting a rail trail in. People said it never happened. It happened. It happened because a bunch of people, volunteers, community people, got together, and it happened. The downtown development, what's happening, Nancy Gallagher had an office upstairs in the Nate Hershey building, I think. Okay, and her office had been developed as an office space in that building, but on each end of that building was this huge areas, and the one looked like it had been an office, and it was just abandoned, papers and file cabinets. I don't know what's up there now, but I told my wife, I said, this is a shame that this can't be developed, and now it's being developed. And you can start clicking things off, things that have happened. And I think it's imperative that the stakeholders in a river, that being the governmental entities, the county, they own Lumiere Park, the city has obviously invested with park development along the river, and St. Louis, really, and the state, good luck, but the state, need to get together and really address this, because nothing's going to change unless that happens. It's just every year, that river, next spring, I will probably be able to get pictures before April 22nd as it's starting. I will probably go until we get the first snowfall, whenever that is, and the stuff all sinks to the bottom. It's surprising, I mean, just utterly surprising to go out there on a weekly basis and see how that changed, and then to go back and look at the pictures from April until October, November, and that's just that short period of time. The drone shots were all telling. When Murray Grolla says someday this is going to be nothing more than a swamp on both sides of the original channel, that is happening here. It's really happening in St. Louis. I used to bicycle past St. Louis. I got pictures from 2005 because it was such a beautiful scene to overlook that off of Cheeseman Road. It ain't that way anymore, and that's happened really quickly. I mean, it exploded. And unless all those stakeholders are involved on an ongoing basis, it's going an asset that has been a foundation for the development and park system and any number of things is going to be gone. So I just would urge you to, I know it's frustrating to have to deal with all those entities, but it needs to be done. I would like to see, hopefully, when they come back, you could all tell me that something's happening and you're all on the same page and boy, you know. But the romaine lettuce thing, just to go off on a tangent, there's been carrots, spinach, and romaine lettuce, there's been incidents of E. coli contamination, and they've all been linked back to contaminated irrigation water. Cattle feedlot, close to the irrigation source, sprayed on them. And that stuff survives distribution throughout the United States and Canada. This most recent one was nationwide. They had E. coli outbreaks in Canada as well. And that same strain, that H157, whatever, it's out there. So it can survive on lettuce and go shipped across the country. It can survive in somebody's hands that's fishing. And so I just don't want to see that happen. And I don't want to see that asset out there just go ahead and disappear. Thank you. I'll see you all next year.
Thanks, Les.
Yep. And if I can, this is a good opportunity. You mentioned what can we do, and we do have a nice group that meets regularly at the Belt Library. That's groups concerned citizens, and they're very engaged with our local college, Alma College, their students and faculty, and they've got a lot of data. They're working with the state. I know there's a number of us that meet with our representatives from the state and federal government regularly, trying to catch their attention. You know, and it's not just our river, it's every river in the state,
it's
probably
nationwide.
most of the rivers in the nation. You know, until we as a group of citizens get our voices loud enough to make these people listen, because it can't be done at our level. One thing that was real disappointing to me when they tried to put forth, the health department tried to put forth an ordinance that would require an inspection of septic systems, which seems to be one of the contributing factors to the problems with the river. And it was, I believe, every 10 years and would cost a homeowner, I don't know, $500 or something, maybe, I forget what the numbers were. But then you stop and look what every resident of the city of Elma pays on an annual basis. You know, and people were in an uproar out in the townships and the county region of the health department because they're gonna have to pay this inspection fee every few years. Well, everybody in the city of Elma, in the city of St. Louis, in the city of Ithaca, we're all paying well beyond that for services to take care of our waste products, to take care of our sewer systems. You know, these people shouldn't be allowed to fight this ordinance. This stuff needs to be cleaned up. Granted, that's not probably the whole problem. Nobody can prove, or doesn't seem to be able to prove at this point, what the whole problem is. Septic seems to be a portion of it. I think there's a portion of it that belongs to the agricultural community. They also need to step up and take care of their waste and treat it properly some way. I don't know what the answer is. There's a number of different processes being tested out there. People smarter than me need to figure it out. But cost should not be a factor. You know, we're poisoning our rivers, and now we're poisoning our food supply, and we have been for some time, but it seems to be getting worse and worse in so many things. So I'll get off my soapbox now, but
I do have
it's
all those
the fact that we all want this cheap food is not a good thing.
the pictures
We're all
that
gonna
I
have to pay
took
for this one way or the other.
and the slide presentations I put together, all of that has been put on thumb drives. I gave one to Gary Rayburn, and I gave one to Jane Keon. And I told them they can do whatever they want to do with it. If anybody in the city commission is interested in obtaining those, they would grab me a copy.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it, Les. With that, who else would like to come to the podium and speak?
Good evening. My name is William Webster. I live on 1208 Woodmere. I'd like to extend, again, my thanks to the outgoing City Commission members, and congratulations to those of you that are coming on board. What brings me here this evening is the midterm election that has just passed and things that transpired prior to that. I've always kind of been outspoken and not afraid to speak truth to power, which I think is kind of lacking these days. I think some of you are echoing the same thing. 9/11, I posted a sign in my front yard, condolences to the 9/11 people that we lost. In this past election, I posted signs that weren't specific to any candidate, but were more in general in purpose to issues in mind. If I may, I can just give you an example of a couple of the signs that I had in my front yard. And at the time, and Aaron can attest to this, I think I had about 10 to a dozen signs at several times and rotated them. Be a global citizen. Be kind. Character matters. Without discourse, democracy dies. This is so important. And Mother Nature backs last. My neighbor wasn't real pleased with some of the signs and filed a complaint. Aaron and some of his staff came out and looked and judged that what they could see, that these signs were based on the upcoming election, even though it wasn't specific to that, and granted me an easement, an exception to the rule, and it allowed me to keep the signs posted. However, before I got that letter, I had already taken them down because it was becoming a hassle to mow and trim and rake leaves around a dozen signs in my front yard. The point of this being, I think, is freedom of speech. Something that in our country we enjoy, and in a lot of countries, if you've been elsewhere, they don't have that freedom. This is something that we need to hold on to. The ability, I feel, for a person to put a sign in their yard, okay, perhaps not a dozen signs, there probably needs to be some limits to that. As long as it's not aggressive, mean-spirited, calling people out, name-calling, we don't need any more of that in our society today. I think we should be free to do that. During the holidays, people put out Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, you see nativity signs, you see signs for Alma basketball, church groups, etc. And I feel that you should be able to put a sign in your yard that expresses a point of view. That, in a nutshell, I think that the city should address. And what brought this about, like I say, it was a neighbor and Aaron's coming back to the city and looking at the ordinances. I don't know what we did before the internet, but I had looked also. And some of the ordinances pointed out that those signs that I aforementioned, the band signs or the church signs, were against the ordinance. I don't think they should be. If you can't express your views, you know, we're in a bad spot. There's no reason that I couldn't put a t-shirt on, sit out in my front yard in a chair, invite my friends over, wear a variety of t-shirts, letters, spell things out. I just think that that freedom of speech is so important, and that the city perhaps should consider broadening the aspects on the ordinances. Thank you for your time. Happy holidays. Hard to believe it's that time of year again.
Thank you.
And I think I brought this to your attention last week, that the sign, and I think, Mr. Rushford, thank you for your input here, but I think we've had some internal discussions now, some things that we probably need to look at here and make some definitions, and I think we'll be getting together in time to see what these things are and to get some better clarification of things on there. So
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
And if I may, rest assured, our intention is to protect yours and everyone else's freedom of speech.
As you should.
We want to do as much, or as little limiting of that as we possibly can and still make it acceptable for the community, so.
Again, thank you.
Our intention is not to try and limit anyone's speech. No.
Can't.
Anybody else care to address the commission? Okay, seeing none, entertain a motion for adjournment.
So move.
Motion and support, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, we are adjourned, thank you very much, have a great evening.
Have a good winter.
Yes.
Eric?
Thank you. Support
Now, wait a minute. Oh, she's gonna take a picture? Yeah. This is Eric Ripley, and before the meeting today, he was given this, what is it, Eric?
It's a token of appreciation from the city staff, or city manager, and the city commission of work we're doing inside the organization.
You know me,
Ah,
paper.
I'm going to zoom in on it so we can get a good look at it. City of Alma, your thumb, Michigan. That's a very, with a thistle on it. That must be the city's logo. Very nice, Eric. Congratulations.
Thanks.
You mean call you tomorrow, Rosemary?